Hi, and welcome to the first of what's going to be two shows today. At 1:30, I am going to be interviewing Lynn McQuinney, and we're going to be talking about Bach flower remedies, which is interesting because I have my rescue remedy here on my desk regularly. So we're going to be talking about how Bach flower remedies work. But right now, before we get to that, I want to talk about something that happened on Radio 4 today. And this is a bit of a rant today, I have to say, and this is why this extra session. Sorry about the red announcements and things. I forgot to reset the colour to my usual purple and yellow. But Radio 4, now it's all very simple. What happened is there's been an interview with Nigel and Sally Rowe. Now, here's what's happened. Nigel and Sally Rowe have a couple of children. One's 8 and one's 6. And a while ago, apparently, there was a young child in the older child was going to school, and suddenly one of the children started expressing gender confusion, gender difference. So being strong Christians, they decided that the best thing to do was to take their child out of school and homeschool him so that he wasn't exposed to this. Now, this week, they've had to do the same again with their 6-year-old because, once again, there is a child in the class who is expressing gender confusion. I could not believe this. I've actually had to go and have a listen to the whole radio program. There's an absolute storm on the internet today about this. And I've been looking there. I'm going to put a link right now into the comments, and we'll bring that up in a second when it comes through. BBC Radio 4, it's at 7:50 if you want to go and listen to it. I'm hoping in a second that I can have the link up here. There we go. So this is the one. So that's the link. You can find it in the chat on this show. Now, here's what's happened. A child has gone to school, and the school has actually, I have really got to commend the school on what they have done. They have said, fine, a child is going through some gender confusion at the age of 6. It happens. Same age that I had that started for me. At around about 6, I began to become a little bit concerned. I didn't feel as if I should have been a boy. Didn't get on with boys very well. Now, this was back in the 50s, bad time, would have been electroconvulsive therapy, all sorts of things. So I kept it a secret. At least now children can come out and they can start to talk about this. And so the parents of this child appear to have talked to the school, and the school said, fine, let the child wear what he wants to wear. So some days he goes dressed as a girl, some days he goes dressed as a boy. I think that's great. Prevent the bullying. The child gets to experience and express themselves. Nobody knows exactly where this is going to go. Maybe the child will determine that they're gay. Maybe they are trans. Maybe they're just going through some civil rivalry. Maybe who knows what is going on? But what the child knows is they don't feel right. They don't feel comfortable being the boy that they're being socially pressured into conforming to. That stereotype of what it means to be a boy and a girl. But Nigel and Sally Rowe believe that, oh no, boys should be pressured into conforming to that stereotype because otherwise you're going to confuse all the other children because they don't understand. Well, hey, I've got a solution for that. Explain it. Help the children to understand. Jazz Jennings produced a fabulous little book. I wish I could just pull it up. I thought I had a picture of it, but I couldn't find it. But Jazz Jennings has just got a little book out called I Am Jazz. It's designed for young children to help them understand that some people don't feel comfortable as boys and girls, and help them understand that that happens and that that's okay. And they can make changes later on. Some may want to change their gender. Very, very small number are going to want to decide to actually go right the way through with surgical change and everything else. But we have a system in place now which helps people. Children can go eventually to a gender psychologist, and they don't really do much until till puberty. That's the point at which things start to get really bad. Now, here's the thing that Nigel and Sally Rowe need to understand. If a child is gender variant, has gender dysphoria, that's the extreme sense of complete discomfort, knowing that somehow or another this is the wrong body. Now, we're not absolutely clear why this happens. It seems to be something to do with something that goes on in the brain. It's hardwired with certain feelings and emotions that are connected to being male or female. It's to do with the hormones during fetal development. And some of us come out of the womb feeling this is not right. And that intense feeling can be so intense that some children would rather self-harm and kill themselves than live in the wrong body. So that's why there is treatment. That's why people get support to change their body, because the intensity of the feeling is so great that they will self-harm. They will potentially kill themselves. Now, what we do know is that 50% of young trans people attempt suicide. What people don't really get is that the percentage is worse, much, much worse, for those who do not get support. In fact, research in the States has shown that children who do not get support are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide, to self-harm, to use drugs, to become sex workers. So what that means is that there's nearly an 80% chance of attempted suicide. It's a staggeringly high proportion of children who do not get support end up going down a very, very bad path, which leads to mental health disorders, it leads to suicide, it leads to self-harming, it leads to drug abuse, it leads to sex working. And a lot of them go to sex working because it's the only way they can raise the money to get the surgery, because nobody else will support and help them. Now, in the UK, the National Health Service helps people. This is a really, really awful condition. It is not something I would wish on anyone. And for these parents to say, oh, we love everybody, we're perfectly fine. We just think this is wrong. This child should be taken and dealt with somewhere else so that we can't see it. No, the problem is society. The problem is, how do we learn to live in a society where people are uncomfortable if you don't conform to gender stereotypes? But we've all got to learn that. And we start learning that when we're 6 years old, we're 5 years old, when we're at school. And we start learning that some people have a different gender. That's what we have to teach, so that children start to grow up and learn that not everybody is the same, and that's okay. That's cool. And that we love each other no matter what. So I think actually it's a very good idea that Nigel and Sally Rowe have taken their child out of that school, because the school is very, very supportive. The school is explaining and helping them understand. Nigel and Sally Rowe are not. They're the ones creating the confusion in their child's mind. There's the one that telling their child, oh, we're Christian and that is wrong. God doesn't love trans people. They're not said it, but that's roughly what the message that's coming across is. These people should be taken away and dealt with somewhere else, not in normal society. Well, I'm sorry. That's not Christian. That's bigotry and bullying. And Nigel and Sally Rowe should be ashamed of themselves for bigoting and their bigoted and bullying approach. And thank you for taking your child out of that school, because at least then the child in the school who's trying to deal with the awful emotional problem of gender variance and gender confusion doesn't have to deal with the bigoted and bullying views of a child who is being taught wrongly by their parents. So that may be quite a tough attitude. Radio 4 presenter was asking exactly the same sorts of questions. So what's wrong if a child wears different clothes? Why is that a problem? Their answers were simply, oh, it's all to do with, it's Christian, it's wrong. They just shouldn't be doing it. Just take them away. No, sorry. Let's get rid of it. If it's confusing, explain it. That's the key. People are confused. Yes, they are. So let's explain it. Let's help people understand it. And that's why I'm right now in the middle of putting together a course. As far as I can work out, it's the first. There are a couple of courses around, but they're a bit really aimed into public sector. I'm putting some simple courses together, people to understand. I'm interested there to help people to understand what this is all about and help people to include trans people. We are here. We've been around for thousands of years. We're just becoming a little bit more visible because the law has changed, and now we can't be attacked. We can't be targeted and bullied. So thank you to the school. Thank you to Radio 4 for doing a great job. And thank you to Nigel and Sally Rowe for removing your child and your bigoted attitudes from a school. We all appreciate it. I shall see you at 1:30 when I'm going to be talking about Bach flower remedies with Lynn McQuinney. Looking forward to that. See you then.